It absorbs an entire glass of water. It fit like a glove. It just felt like real underwear. Game changer.
It's the protection we deserve.
Outback's new steak and mate combos. Can't choose between steak and chicken or steak and shrimp. No rules here, mate. Get them both. It's the Aussie way, starting at $16.99 for a limited time. Only at Outback Steakhouse.
At Viking, we are proud to have been named the world's #1 for both rivers and oceans by Travel and Leisure as well as Condé Nast Travelers. But it's now time for us to work even harder, searching for meaningful experiences and new adventures for you to embark upon. They say when you reach the top, there's only one way to go. We say that way is onwards.
Viking, exploring the world in comfort.
I need to find my family. Where the hell are we? Welcome home.
Meet Zach. His work-life balance is anything but balanced. But when he gets on the bike, he becomes Zen Zach. Zen Zach exists outside of time. His heartbeat sounds like a mellow drum circle.
It's cool, right?
The only notification he hears is the sound of the ocean. So if you want to reach him, talk to the ocean.
The ocean?
And Zen Zach rides with Geico, because saving money and getting great coverage is totally chill. Geico, savings and service for both your sides.
Such tremendous views. I'm at a loss for words.
When a cough tries to steal Dad's punchlines, he takes Robitussin Naturals.
Right, 5 minutes, sex without beer. Yeah! Woo! Oh, woo!
Easy, that boy.
You. Oh, you. You are the best.
You weren't half bad yourself.
No, you are the best. You're the best.
I am to please.
After we have a cigarette. Can we do it again?
I'm gonna have a Spanish omelet, hash browns, some more coffee, and orange juice. Oh, and can I have some rice pudding for later? Thanks. Story.
Projected to reach one.
Look great.
Oh, so
Look beautiful.
For years, my
in time, but this was.
The product at Adidas. I co-created.
Violated twice.
Yeah, you want to tell the truth, don't you?
goodness thing! I'm gonna puke like a king! And then there's the DOJ investigation of the classified documents. Yesterday we told you that the independent arbiter who had been appointed to sift through the materials seized in the FBI search for Mar-a-Lago had chastised the Trump legal team for not providing any proof that Trump had declassified any of the documents. And sure enough, yesterday an appeals court intervened to reverse a lower court ruling and allow the DOJ investigation to continue. The appeals court judges ruled that the DOJ could move forward with its criminal investigation because there's no reason to believe Trump declassified the documents or that he should get to keep them even if he did.
Just a short time ago, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals handed Trump's lawyers a huge defeat. 3 appeals court judges, 2 of them appointed by Trump himself, lifted a judge's order that prevented the Justice Department from using classified documents that were seized from Mar-a-Lago in its criminal investigation.
An appeals court has ruled that the Justice Department can have access to roughly 100 highly sensitive classified documents that were taken from Mar-a-Lago. Trump has been arguing that all the documents seized from his club are his personal property, and that if the FBI found anything classified in there, well, Trump magically declassified it when he was president, even though he has no record of ever having done that. The judge is right, quote, The declassification argument is a red herring because declassifying an official document would not change its content or render it personal. So even if we assume that plaintiff Trump did declassify some or all of these documents, that would not explain why he has a personal interest in them.
Exactly. Claiming he declassified them on top of being a lie is also irrelevant. You don't get to keep them. Trump thinks declassifying something is like calling dibs. Watch out if you're ever at a big group dinner with him. I'm officially declassifying those jalapeno poppers. So hands off the poppers, but also before I declassify the poppers, we order the poppers as a group. So we'll still be splitting the check for the poppers. You pay for my pop. You pay my pop. So that's what was happening yesterday as Trump sat down with his best friend / only friend, Sean Hannity. And as is usually the case with these interviews, Hannity desperately tried to help Trump out by teeing him up with softball questions designed to defend Trump, but accidentally ended up giving Trump free rein to go totally off script and screw himself. For example, as we mentioned earlier, Trump and his lawyers have been arguing that he declassified the documents he stole from the White House. So far, they have refused to provide any details or evidence as to how and when exactly that happened, and now we know why there are none. Trump told Hannity he thinks you can declassify a top secret document by simply declaring it declassified inside your own head.
You have said on Truth Social a number of times you did declassify.
I did declassify, yes.
Okay. Is there a process? What was your process to declassify?
It doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it. You know, there's different people say different things, but as I understand, there doesn't have to be. If you're the president of the United States, you can declassify just by saying it's declassified, even by thinking about it.
Do you think the whole time Trump was answering, Hannity was thinking, why the I asked him what his process was? Oh, what the is wrong with me? Oh, today's the day he's gonna have a process. Get your head out of your ass, Hannity! Trump's argument is that you can just declassify things in your mind. It's officially declassified as long as you believe it's declassified. That's according to Trump's newest legal advisor, Tinkerbell. Oh, and heads up. Heads up, Tink, he's not gonna pay you. So Trump says you can declassify something just by thinking about it, although even that is a shaky defense because it requires establishing that Trump is capable of thinking about things. I mean, even if it were true that the law said you declassify something just by thinking about it, all a judge would have to do is look into Trump's eyes and immediately rule that there's just nothing going on in there. I mean, look at it. Does that look more like a man who is declassifying top secret documents? Or an emu who just found the zoo camera? Whenever he's on TV, Trump has this energy.
It's amazing to me. Emmanuel, don't do it. Emmanuel. I'm trying to tell them thank you. Buddy, I'm trying to tell them thank you. Don't do it. Don't. Emmanuel.
Interestingly, Emmanuel also stole a bunch of classified documents. There was also this part of the clip that I thought was very revealing and probably drove Trump's lawyers insane.
Is there a process? What was your process to declassify?
It doesn't have to be a process, as I understand it. You know, there's different people say different things, but as I understand, there doesn't have to be. There doesn't have to be a process. There can be a process, but there doesn't have to be.
What do you mean there doesn't have to be a process? If Trump had been one of the framers of the Constitution, every article would have ended with, or not. Congress shall have the power to make laws or not. Of course, there's a process. It's a government. There's a process for everything. Nothing happens by magic. You can't just change your address or file your taxes by thinking about it. Although, based on Letitia James's press conference, that's what Trump will probably use as his next excuse. I may have inflated my assets on legal bank forms, but in my head, I was honest down to the last penny. Well, by far the craziest part of the interview came when Trump fully unraveled and seemed to suggest that the FBI was mainly searching Mar-a-Lago to look for Hillary Clinton's emails. It made so little sense, even Hannity had to jump in and stop him.
There's also a lot of speculation because of what they did, the severity of the FBI coming and raiding Mar-a-Lago. Were they looking for the Hillary Clinton emails that were deleted, but they are around someplace? Were they looking for the spying
on Trump's... you had it.
No, they may be saying, they may have thought that it was in there.
Wait, what? So, the FBI searched your private resort to look for Hillary Clinton's emails, the ones you've supposedly been looking for forever. That made so little sense. Even Handy had to jump in and say,
Don't do it.
but man, what a twist it would be if Trump accidentally admitted that he's the one who stole all of Hillary Clinton's missing emails. I mean, honestly, that would be worth it. Even M. Night Shyamalan would have been like, hats off. I mean, a lot of people are saying maybe the FBI was looking for Hillary's emails because maybe they were in there. Because maybe in 2015 I sat down at a computer and broke into her server and stole them. Because in reality, despite presenting as a very dumb man, I'm actually a computer genius. A hacker. That's what we call ourselves. We love the hackers, don't we? This guy is still, as of this moment,
ante los padres.
Forzarse y permanecer alerta.
¿Duele cuando empujo aquí?
Sí, me duele.
¿Y aquí?
No, ahí no.
¿Aquí?
Sí, ahí.
¿Qué tal aquí?
No lo sé.
¿Qué tal aquí abajo?
Sí, realmente duele.
Los paramédicos examinan a la anciana. Tiene un dolor evidente. Controlan su presión arterial y su ritmo cardíaco. La ubicación de su dolor sugiere que puede tener un problema intestinal. Yukihiro y sus compañeros llevan a la paciente al hospital lo más rápido posible. Es tarde, y el abnegado padre tiene una cosa en mente: llegar a casa con sus seres queridos y descansar un poco. Ya sea en la Ciudad de México o en Osaka, la vida de un paramédico es exigente e intensa. Para hacer bien el trabajo, hay que mantenerse en excelente forma física y mental. Pero a pesar de sus exigencias, es una vocación apasionante que solo atrae a los mejores y les llena de un tremendo sentimiento de logro y orgullo.
Disfruto ser paramédico y ayudar a la gente. Salvar vidas es muy gratificante. Cuando descubres que has ayudado a un paciente a mejorar y a volver a una vida normal, te hace muy feliz. Me encanta mi trabajo.
Ayudo a salvar vidas. Es una sensación indescriptible. Es como tener manos mágicas. Es tan maravilloso devolver la sonrisa a los pacientes y enviarlos a casa sanos y salvos con sus familias. Me gusta. Me siento realmente realizada al final del día. Me produce una increíble sensación de alegría y satisfacción.
Yeah, we're getting to the point. Had taken what you call a team up.
Did you get that out?
So satisfying.
All the heroics in one place. See where it takes you. Prime Video.
So, what's the secret? How have you guys made it work so long?
We had a deep, almost spiritual connection. I'm his plumber.
It's like he knew my water heater needed a tune-up before I even asked.
Like he's reading my mind.
That's not mind reading. That's just automated email reminders through constant contact that I send out to all my clients.
Wait, how many clients do you have?
We have a couple, at least.
Throughout most of my childhood, we were living very paycheck to paycheck. I learned from an early age how stressful that lifestyle is. That really just amplified my desire to go out and help the communities that don't have that financial education and knowledge. For people to come in. I'm a branch manager for Charles Schwab, and I lead a team of 12 financial consultants. The MoneyWise program is put together to go out into the communities and teach teens and young adults about financial literacy.
Welcome back to school, everybody. This team loves really difficult questions.
It's all about just helping give them the knowledge to make those decisions for themselves.
For me, it was about finding out who I am.
We have a lot of givers on the team. They just want to go out into the community and share that knowledge with others and help them feel more confident going forward with their financial lives.
Champions for Change is presented by Charles Schwab. Follow the stories of pioneers who are challenging the status quo. Go to cnn.com/champions to learn more about these stories that highlight the bright examples of humanity and give hope and inspiration.
All this week in a series we call Champions for Change, CNN is bringing you stories of everyday people who are changing society and getting things done. Tonight, I'm honored to bring the story of my champion for change, my friend Jimmy Hatch. He's a retired Navy SEAL who's working to avoid the mistakes learned by the war in Afghanistan for future American conflicts. And he's doing it with the help of college students, many of whom were just babies at the beginning of the United States' longest war.
It's been a long journey for former Navy SEAL Jimmy Hatch to the halls of Yale. At 55, after a lifetime of service, he's finally pursuing his college degree, investigating the war that nearly cost him his life. We first met Jimmy back in 2015.
Hostage rescue stuff is really hard.
He was speaking out for the first time about a mission to rescue Army soldier Bo Bergdahl in Afghanistan. On the mission, Jimmy Hatch suffered a catastrophic gunshot wound.
Hit me right above the knee. It sent the bone kind of out the back of my leg.
Jimmy had to be rescued. Bandaged and bleeding, his 21 years as a Navy SEAL were over. He was awarded the Purple Heart and Bronze Star for his actions that night.
We will not lose this war, because that's deep. There's a lot of layers, and we're all blessed.
Hatch was blessed to survive, but his military dog, Remco, was killed on the mission. He honored Remco and other working dogs who helped save lives by founding Spike's Canine Fund, a charity that provides protective gear and training for working dogs who face danger. In 2017, I first profiled Jimmy as a champion for change. He convinced me to go skydiving with him to raise money for Spike's Canine Fund. In 2019, after a chance meeting with a Yale professor on another skydiving trip, Jimmy was encouraged to apply to Yale's Eli Whitney program for non-traditional students with exceptional backgrounds and aspirations.
And a few months later, I received an email saying that I was accepted, and I was shocked, and I looked at my wife, and she said, "You'd be an idiot if you didn't know."
So, age 52, Jimmy Hatch became the oldest freshman in Yale's class of 2023. Last year, during the United States' chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan, I asked Jimmy to come on CNN, someone who fought and lost so much though.
I just think we did a lot of wrong things in Afghanistan, and I think the solution is to figure out how not to do it again.
Turns out, Yale University liked Jimmy's idea. In a matter of weeks, they designed a year-long class to investigate what went wrong in Afghanistan and produce a report of their findings. They invited Jimmy, the undergraduate, to not only take the graduate-level class, but to be an unofficial co-professor with retired U.S. Ambassador Ann Patterson.
Jimmy was basically the founder, the brainchild behind the course. And he was a huge benefit because Jimmy had had on-the-ground experience in Afghanistan.
My first class was
Jimmy, when he came to Yale, I think showed us that education is service too. That his service to the country didn't end when he stopped being a Navy SEAL and serving in active combat, but his idea that this was a new phase of his service to the country and that he was there to learn something so that the world would be better.
The class spent months speaking to a number of generals, ambassadors, members of the Afghan Special Forces, and even a spokesman for the Taliban.
I do believe that one of the things that needs to happen if the military is going to stop being the easy button for how we solve things is we're going to have to talk to people we don't want to talk to. And so for me, the last people in the world I want to talk to was the Taliban.
Jimmy Hatch hopes the report will inspire Americans of all walks of life to hold the country's leaders accountable in America's future conflicts.
I believe that in a way, a part of the United States of America died in Afghanistan, and that my classmates and I picked them up and brought them into our classroom and are attempting to bury them with respect and learn the lessons that created them.
If you're interested in reading the report by Jimmy and his class, there's the link at the bottom of the screen, bit.ly/Yale 20-Year War. Also, if you want to find out more about Jimmy's charity, go to spikescaninefund.org. Be sure to tune in Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, for the Champions for Change 1 hour special. The news continues. Time to hand over to Don Lemon tonight. This is Don Lemon tonight, and the former president's run of bad luck, well, it just keeps rolling along. Special Master has just about had it with the legal team, and I remind you, this is their hand-picked Special Master. This is really a put-up-or-shut-up moment for Team Trump. Judge Raymond Dearie ordering the Trump team to back up his out-of-court claims that the FBI somehow planted evidence during their search of Mar-a-Lago. Back it up or put up or shut up, as they say. The search that turned up more than 100 classified documents. Now, the judge wants them to give him a sworn declaration with a list of specific items that they claim were planted. And that's the thing. This is about facts. It's about evidence. And you can't just make wild accusations in court without a shred of evidence, even if that is your main MO out in the court of MAGA opinion. The judge also considering testimony from, quote, witnesses with knowledge of irrelevant facts. And let's not forget, former president would have you believe that he could be classified documents just by thinking about it, which is not a thing. Some of the Republicans not buying that either.
We take it very seriously. People can get hurt. People can get killed if it's not stored correctly and if that information gets out.
Well, plus problems mounting for Vladimir Putin. After viewing today, world leaders slamming him over his invasion of Ukraine while he is scrambling to restore his battered war machine, and sources tell CNN personally giving directions to generals in the field. That, as he calls that 300,000 citizens and reservists to fight in Ukraine, mobilization not seen since World War II. And meanwhile, Russians who want to avoid the mobilization are crowding the border, while the families left behind say goodbye to loved ones they know that they may never see again. But is it desperate Putin? An even more dangerous Putin? And how much support does he still have from the Russian people? We've got more to come on this later on in the broadcast. We've got a lot to cover in a couple of hours that we have with you this evening, but I want to begin right now with senior legal analyst Laura Coates and national security attorney Bradley Moss. Good evening to both of you. Thanks for joining us. Laura, let's talk about the special master, which is the hand-picked special master from Team Trump, overseeing these Mar-a-Lago docs, ordering Trump's team to back up their claims that the FBI possibly planted evidence. He is telling Trump's lawyers, really, to put up a shut-up.
Exactly, and it's when you can file this all under, be careful what you wish for, Team Lee, Goose, and Trump, because you just might get it. You'd ask for a special master with credentials who has the experience judicially to be able to understand what they are looking for, the FISA court experience about the notion of classified documents versus unclassified, the idea of privilege versus non-privilege. But ultimately you have somebody who's in a position to know the difference between the court of public opinion, Don, and the court of law. And what you can say in the court of public opinion might be much more expansive, but what's required in the court of law is that if you make an allegation or an assertion, you have to actually substantiate it. Here, this special master is saying, similar to what the website said just yesterday, look, you have articulated, your client has articulated, all these notions about either planting evidence or declassifying documents. Where is that statement in a court of law? If it's not there, that is not going to bode well for the overall assessment. And frankly, it might actually translate into the court of the electorate or the court of public opinion as to the veracity, credibility of all of the claims that he has made regarding that search on his estate.
Bradley, the special master is also opening the door to witness testimony, which is kind of surprising. There have been a lot of questions about the chain of custody and also who may have moved the documents from the basement to Trump's office. Who do you think could be called as witnesses, a witness or witnesses?
Yeah, so there's any number of people who work or worked at Mar-a-Lago who would potentially be relevant. There's obviously Donald Trump, some of his personal attorneys who are not working on this current particular civil litigation. You think of Alina Habba, you think of Christina Bobb. Now, there's obvious issues there. There's privilege issues. There's what they could talk about and the extent to which this is within the special master's authority. But to kind of supplement what Laura was saying, this is all a problem of Donald Trump's own making. He brought this civil litigation when he didn't need to. He gave DOJ the opening to provide the public with more information about what was going on that he didn't need to let them do. And now he's got both the 11th Circuit and the special master breathing down his neck, telling him, what are you doing here? You can't just make these wild accusations. You have to back it up with sworn affidavits. You have to back it up with exhibits. You've done none of that. We're not going to play games with this stuff. Either you provide the evidence or your case is done.
Well, listen, you know this. A lot of people will say, especially when it's a high-profile person, they want the court of public opinion. They think that they can sway people. They think that they can sort of push the legal system into what they're thinking. I mean, I want to continue to talk about what you said and what Brad just said. I mean, what does it say that both the special master and the 11th Circuit
I'm
are
calling
taking
from
on
the
Trump's public claims that
149,
haven't been put forward in legal filings?
just before the fire alarm
Possibility of printed evidence and so on and so forth.
announced about the
You mean the idea when his interview with Sean Hannity was to suggest that he could be classified somehow through telepathy? I mean, the idea that you could just think about something and all of a sudden it goes away. Or nuclear secret. You know, when you think about it, I guess it goes away. Classified document, when you think about it, no one classified. And the absurdity of these statements is very much that self-inflicted wound. And so the judges had the benefit of really two things. One, the facts before them and the absence of evidence. And also, they're remembering back to a time not so long ago when there were similar statements made in the court of public opinion about evidence of voter-related fraud, about election-related lies, and then when asked in a court of law to support that, to substantiate it in some way, they did not. So in some respects, not only are we seeing the judges learning from what's happened in this particular exclusive matter, but they're learning from experience based on other instances where there has been a statement made by the former president in the court of public opinion trying to inject and infuse it with a particular narrative. And then when a court of law, their brethren and sisters of the court, there's crickets there. So unfortunately, he is, I think, now becoming the victim of his own making in the sense of every web of statements that are unsubstantiated creates an opportunity for really him to undermine his own cases and matters even before there's a single criminal charge.
Here's the interesting thing, Bradley. I think, Donald Trump has been very litigious. That's no secret, right? That's what the evidence shows. And he has been able to weigh people out, right, financially, have them spend a lot of money and then have things just go away because people don't want to be entangled with the legal system and they don't want the fees. So what do you expect? This instance is different, right? So what do you expect Trump's lawyers to do? I mean, they have a client that makes a lot of claims about the FBI, about seized documents, but so far Trump's attorneys have been more restrained. It would be a crime if they knowingly lied in court, correct?
Correct, absolutely. They don't want to commit perjury or suborn perjury. And the lawyers who've recently come on all know who Michael Cohen is. They all know who Rudy Giuliani is. They all know who Sidney Powell is. They don't want to go that way. They don't want to either go to prison or find their licenses at risk.